What is up, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, day traders, cloud swing traders? Hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. Hope you guys are probably feeling a little bit better than Elon Musk, but he's still a billionaire. Don't worry. He's okay. He'll be okay. But Tesla earnings did come out last night, and we'll dive into some of those. We got Alex in the house. Good morning, Bill. We got Eric. Good morning, Franco. Gina's in the house. GWJ, Linda, JT, Juan, Pablo, Con, Kevin Stone. Good morning, Tony. Win. Wally's in the house. All my peeps in YouTube land. We got local missions. Good morning. All my YouTube people that are just lurking in the background, not commenting. Good morning to all of you guys. Let's go. Let's go. Let's see what this market wants to bring. T with a big gap down. I mean, it's more expected than a big gap up for T. We'll say that. But we got the SPY with a little bit of a gap and go so far today. Where's all my levels? Volume profile. Oh, it's because I'm on a weekly. That makes sense. Yep. So we're gapping now for the week, but that candle is going to look different. Actually, that candle on a weekly is going to be interesting. So we still have today and tomorrow. Now that this was just accidentally coming up, I was like, something. I know we gapped down. Did we do that really? But this is actually now going to look a little bit like a blow off top of sorts. We're gonna have to watch this weekly candle a lot. You do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This would have been the 7th week. So if today is a down day and then we don't recover Friday, that actually could look a little bit more like a blow off top than a green candle. So 10 EMA in a weekly takes us back to like 404.96. Let's see what's happening today. Yeah, we do have a little gap and go on the daily as well. So we are breaking down the lows of yesterday. It depends on where we open, but we're at or slightly below. It looks like we're slightly below the 2 last VPOCs. So that would take us to the next target of about 410.46. I thought we were somewhere close to that pre-market already, so we might have hit that. And with all the moving averages coming in, I don't think it's a clear, like, sailing down, short everything type market. But yeah, I would say sentiment would definitely be a little bit to the shorter side. I know you are going to have, again, somewhere around this 410.46. Looks like somewhere around 410.03, 409.60. So we do have a couple levels in here that we're not quite out of the woods yet. Although the one interesting thing, so really, I mean, we did have a bunch of companies. The Las Vegas Sands reported. I think they gapped up. I haven't checked out AT&T yet, but you guys are telling me that one's kind of gapping down. So I don't know if it was earnings, but at least in the tech sector, and I would consider Netflix kind of in the tech sector as well, a little bit, or at least bigger companies. Tesla, Netflix, those are the 2 big ones that came out so far. Both have gapped down on earnings. We did have reports going into the earnings season that we do have that we were kind of expecting a little bit of a chop, like a rough earnings season. Let's put it that way. So a little bit of a rough earnings season, and so far the first 2 real big companies that reported that would be heavily watched were both misses. No, let me actually rephrase that, because Tesla kind of actually beat earnings per share, but drops on earnings. We'll go with that. Win says 411.39. All of my tickers are down except SLV. Little flee to safety on that one. I don't know if anybody watched the bond market yesterday, but the 10 years creeping back up to that 4%. I don't know. Things are looking a little shaky. Qs. So Qs, we do have probably one resistance, 316.05. I mean, we're definitely gapping below 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 different VPOCs with a pretty clear double top. Again, this is a green candle, but take it for what it is, right? If we really try to figure out, I lost that pen thing. Oh, there we go. Why is this? Hold on, this is on the wrong screen. Let me. Can I slide this over? Oh, I made it worse. All right, let me do this. There, now I get the pen. So this is a green candle, obviously, right? Unless you're color blind, then that's gray. But right now it's green for me. But all of this is just really a retest gap, right? So we closed at the retest, and now we're kind of dipping below that. Could be a little chop. Could be a little chop. I don't know if we break down. I think the trend is definitely heading down. Right, we had a little bit of a mixed signal with the VPOC that came in. So VPOC did close yesterday higher than that, actually continuing that uptrend. So you got 1, 2, 3 in a row. And now, man, just this level right here. Those two. If those two break, and I think all of the bulls and bears will be looking at that level. I don't think the bulls really want that thing to break down past there. Otherwise, we start getting back to these levels down here. I don't really see anything else in the way that would prevent us from doing that. That would be 311.68 on the Qs. So that's going to be interesting. But yeah, this is all still just kind of big gap up, gap down, retest, gapping below where that retest started. I don't know. I think I have to kind of switch it over to bearish today. But out of the gate, I think we do have the possibility of a little bit of a run. We do have some unemployment numbers coming in for the people losing jobs. Not great for Jerome Powell. They were decent. We did have a little bit of a higher unemployment number than was expected. So again, decent for Jerome Powell. But it wasn't like blow it out of the water type situation. Let's get to Tesla. Hey. Their earnings per share, I think, beat by a penny, if I'm not mistaken. They did a revenue. Yep, so like 4 cents. Yeah, it was estimated for 84 cents. They came in at 85. So they beat by very, very small margin there. They were still saying that they had some supply issues. They did have to discount some of the vehicles. Cybertruck still on par for Q3. Still a lot of good projects in the works. That is a terrifying gap. But you are at a key level. So 163.34 is what I have on my chart. So somewhere around there should be the support. This is a gap and go. This is a massive gap and go. If this 163.34 does not hold, we probably have nothing really to stop us from closing this gap all the way back down to somewhere in this 145. I would say first probably about 158.26, small move. But yeah, this gap, to close this gap, looks like it could be in play. Interestingly enough. Sounded like macro issues were sort of catalyst for future issues. Yeah, I had that sense as well. But I also think that's kind of passing the torch a little bit. Yeah, if you were CEO and things going wrong, and then you could just look at the overall economy and go, yeah, it wasn't our fault though. It's this, which I don't discredit that. But at the same time, it's like, well, is there still demand? Regardless of if the economy, if inflation's high, if XYZ, people are just trying to not spend as much, whatever case, I mean, that's still going to affect your demand, right? Do you have a product that people demand? And honestly, I mean, Tesla does have a little bit of pricing power where they could lower pricing. And that's actually a decent move to keep cash coming in during the kind of harder time in the market. right? So I'm not opposed to the lower pricing, just push out more models. It was the number one selling uh vehicle. I think it was in where Europe, and then for first quarter here, beside at least in that category that they were selling in the Model 3, I think. So it was decent. I don't mind some of the moves that they made, but yeah, I think passing it on to like, hey, it's not us, it's everybody, right? The one thing I would be concerned with is the amount of cash that they had on hand. It dried up by like I think it was like at least 50%, something like that. So their cash on hand definitely decreased a little bit as well. So that's not good. Probably also why that's pushing them to say, okay, let's see if we could just get some more cash through the door. But yeah, it's going to be a very interesting level here. I can actually see this thing fading up higher, to be honest. So at the beginning of the day, probably push into that bottom of this trend line somewhere. Maybe we could get to like 172, 173, but I'll be using that 163.34 as my backdrop. So if we start breaking, closing below that, I think we get the retest into that same number, and then yeah, we could look for further down move. Where do you find support at? I had it on my chart for a while. Maybe it was off the weekly. Yep. So somewhere here in this weekly. So we had like a little, like it's not a huge one, but we do have right here, right? So somewhere right here in this zone is where I have my weekly. Probably could be a little bit higher, but that's where I have it. So it's like this is like another spot where we probably could get bought up from. It's not a huge one, but then I'm looking at these levels like, all right, well, if we can't hold those levels, we probably get into this bigger volume area. Yep. So it's not the most amazing one, but it is a decent one. A spot which could try to get saved. So we'll definitely be watching Tesla. I mean, we do every day anyway, but all right, let's take a look at T. Brio says LEU. All right, so we have T. That is trapping lots of days of bullishness. This is bearish. Was this earnings? Earnings per share they beat, and then they just lost all their money. Yep. So surprise. I like that word surprise. It kind of makes it sound good a little bit. Like surprise, we're bankrupt. Like, oh, I don't know how to feel. But this is a retest. That's for the stockholders, yeah. Surprise. Your account blew up. You're like, oh, you got me again, market. You got me again. All right. This is technically a retest gap, but that's a lot of bulls. That is a lot of bulls getting trapped. Who were surprised. You do have a little bit of support here. I would give this just based on the amount of people trapped in this thing. I would probably give this a minute before we go long, but I think this could be a fadeable gap. I just don't know if we start fading from here. We come down to maybe probably 1859, or if things get a little bit more panicky, we probably looking for like 1838 would be a decent spot as well. So I don't necessarily want to take this and just say, okay, it's done. Let's go short it. We're not clearing some of these big pivots. We do have maybe a little bit of support action in this one. So if we have this to here, yeah, we could definitely come down a little bit further before we push up higher. But that would be a retest gap. Technically, just you're trapping a lot of bulls in this thing. I don't think I mean, I don't want to say no way, but because I've seen some strange things happen in the market, but I don't think we get back up there to retest that candle. Most likely, if we do come in for some kind of a retest, we're probably looking at maybe like, again, maybe we come down first. Not sure about that, but then we probably come up and somewhere around this 1920, and then this becomes like do or die. So over the next couple days, yeah, I think we probably do something like Square did to some extent. Let me see. Let's pull up Square real quick. SQ. Yep. So something similar. And Tesla could do this too. Tesla has the ability. That's what I'm saying. Maybe thinking long might be decent on Tesla, but here's how big gap down. This one did gap a little bit, probably lower than where Tesla was sitting on the charts. That's what I'm like, maybe not Tesla, AT&T, but maybe we come down a little bit further. There's our perfect little retest into it, and then start to fade. So I think we'll start to see a lot of that, and it's just kind of patience. Any of these gaps that are massive, that are breaking big trends, I would probably keep them on the list. Set some alerts. Find out those areas, which would be somewhere around here. Throw an alert out there and say, okay, what's happening when we get there? Where everybody obviously is watching some of the big companies on earnings or big news reports or things like that, but what happens the next few days after that could be even more important. All right, let me take a look. LEU. Looks like a water slide. Citrus, what is it? Centrus Energy Corp. Centrus. We thought we could be a company. Centrus. Yep. So these guys are getting absolutely clobbered. Not really too much going on today. You do have a key level of support somewhere around 29.90. So you're about 20 cents away from that right now. At decent little breakout. This is all some kind of a retest. You really want this hammer hold. You could probably play this as a swing just in case. I mean, this is not going to give you the biggest level of confidence. Just every single day, just down, essentially. But if you do like this thing bullish, and honestly, even this zone over here, this was the first little breakdown. So here's a very strong close candle, definitely below kind of that pivot. You hung in there. This now becomes the retest into it, and we probably chop, and I can see a little bit more further continuation coming in on this. But if you do like it bullish, if you think I'm absolutely incorrect on that analysis, what you could do is probably look to play this hammer. As soon as you get a close below that hammer, you just be done, right? And then you're probably not looking for a monster move, but maybe back to like $34, something like that. Hector Hernandez. Good morning. Is that the MACD at the bottom screen? No, this is the TTM. The TTM indicator. All right. What was the one that I missed? Somebody put one in the chat. FFIV. Significant gap down. I don't even have any of those little lines to go off of. Now I gotta get creative. All right. Yeah, we're massively gapping down, but this would be. I mean, maybe we get saved at this pivot, but this doesn't look great. Yeah, I'd probably be looking for. Where's this pivot come in? This one's one. Looks like we have a strong support somewhere around 122.44. So we got hit there. That came down there, right there, interacted here, interacted there. And yeah, I would be waiting, see if we could get another probably $3 drop in this thing. And then that should be a retest gap. So see if we could drop a little bit more, hit a heavier support. This way you have a better risk to reward if you want to play this thing. That is a pretty massive move. So, yep, buying it as close as possible to that support and kind of go from there would make sense to me. All right. Any other stocks that we want to look at? You guys could type those into the chat. Here's something that does look different than the market. Las Vegas Sands. While you all 9 to 5 people struggling to pay bills and dealing with inflation, the rich people still at Las Vegas Sands, but they're also not winning apparently if LVS is winning. So rich people now slightly poorer. But yeah, there's a little bit of this should be a retest gap. Probably look to fade this one lower. So especially if the market wants to go with it, who knows? But decent gap up into support. Probably I was hopefully looking for something maybe we could play opposite of the market, maybe bullish, but yeah. LU. Where is the I don't even see the pre-market on this thing. I'm on the daily. I get that. But it usually has the little indicator. Would this be a good place for a bear to for bear call spread? I see. Yeah, probably most likely. Yeah. Yeah, this would be a decent spot for bear call spread. It's kind of, I mean, we've been melting up slightly to the high side, slightly into some of those bigger VPOCs. So yeah, bear call spread would look decent. That's a massive gap on this thing too. And I probably head that direction. What about XPO? It's another really nice gap up. This looks like it was on some type of news, not earnings. XPO taps Old Dominion Freight VP for operating chief. So yeah. Usually a lot of these news stories where you have key members moving around typically gets faded. That is a really good gap. Probably a little bit more to the bullish side. This is technically a retest gap. I don't think we retest that today. I don't think 34.66 gets closed today. At best, I'd say first spot to look to go long on this thing would be somewhere around the 37.65, or if we open up somewhere above 38.65. So if we open a little bit higher, that will give us probably a little bit more room, and we could probably start to see some 42.56s. Again, today maybe a stretch, but I would buy the dip on this thing. So the lower this thing comes in, I would be looking to go bullish. You should have a decent amount of bears trapped, specifically from this date right here, which they've been probably any bears left are just kind of hanging in, seeing if we could break a little further or not. Maybe this is a retest spot, and that's a good bullish. I like the fact we're taking out that candle. You're running into all of that sell volume. All of that volume right there is going to be spots where people are like, all right, worked the last time. So a little bit. Wayne says that reminds me of an article that said the average American household is currently spending 30% more on eating out than on groceries. WTH. Yeah, that's possible. I think we're still in this zone. I mean, honestly, I think psychologically speaking, from not this nation, but people in general, like they were still locked up in their house for a very long time. All right. So I still think you have a little bit of a tailwind. And the other thing too is you still have I saw reports that credit card like balances are still higher than I think pretty much any other time in history. So like that's how you're paying for it. I think there's still a good sentiment out there, and the markets. I think we just entered, technically speaking, a bull market yesterday with yesterday's close. You still have the bull market running up. That kind of causes a little bit of a false sense that, yeah, everything's kind of temporary and we're making money. As soon as you look at your account, you feel better about yourself. You're going, hey, let's go out to eat, right? And then you get the bad run in the market. Everything starts dropping, and then you go, oh, but now you still got to pay that credit card bill off. So I don't know. People think about money differently. All right, Walmart, a little bit of a gap down. Yeah, so that is at a retest spot. This looks like a very nice fade. Let me put this one on the list because I don't have it yet. But let's add this and let's push this a little bit higher. This one looks like a good retest opportunity. The only thing with the retest on this one, you're still only getting about 90 cents. So you have the 10 EMA right here. You got good support right there. That is a retest gap. So this one would be probably an easy fade. Easy fade higher. Not sure what we do once we start getting higher, but it's all possible. DOCU. Probably one of my favorite gaps so far. Target on this thing would be $50.43. The only problem with this, so it is a gap and go technically, but this would be my only concern with this. I like this one a lot, but I think we still have to treat this one actually as a retest. Even though it's a green candle, that was just a retest candle from yesterday. So that was just probably some profit taking after one big massive day, 2, 3, 4 days of selling. We gapped down. That was the retest. I think sentiment is weak, but I feel like we have to treat that almost like a retest. So the higher this thing goes, the happier I would be to short it, as I think sentiment is a little bit weak. And let's check out one more thing too. I have time? I think so. That's the 618 right there. So this could be a bounce spot. I wouldn't be the first one to short this thing, but very much like the square gap that we looked at. So big gap down, a couple days later, it's closing. And then, yeah, so I think sentiment is weak. It's going to be a little bit of an iffy spot, but it is one of my favorites. If we can break a couple of these levels and we get some kind of good setup in it, then yeah, I'd probably look to go short. Lucian says, when people could be eating more, but that could also be people eating out the same amount, but cost increasing 30% more. Yeah, that could be too. Hector says, what recession? IBM has a good gap. Yeah, but what recession? We didn't have one last time because the definition is different. Nothing to see here. That one kind of looks interesting too. IBM, huh? Definitely trapping a couple people. Probably targets on this one might get us up to about 130 and change. 130.29. We'll push this one higher. Yeah, I'd have to think bullish on this one as well. Let me see if I'm missing anything else. But I got my points. Probably the combination of things. We know eating out helps. You guys love the eating out topic. We're going to do a whole thing on that one today. Not a lot of stop on DOCU. Yeah, no, it's just gotta see if it bounces or not at that spot. Agree. People feel bad and don't feel like cooking at home. Yeah, cooking. I mean, that takes a lot of time. I'm in a restaurant business and they're crazy busy right now. People are spending crazy money eating out at the moment. Upsell the milk. All right, that is our opening bell. Everybody in YouTube land, I do appreciate joining us. You guys are probably hungry right now. I get it, but try to resist. Try to resist cooking. Make sure if you go to eat somewhere, you're gonna go eat out and spend about 30% more than you would have last year. Otherwise, be safe out there in the markets. I think all of the key numbers relatively came in today already. So I don't think we have too much on the news surface that I could see. Maybe some Fed speakers I'd have to check, but otherwise, you guys are incredible, and I'll catch all you guys